If Nigeria is going to be good, as that song says, well, infrastructure is one of those things that will help. Infrastructure development is one of the commitments of this government, especially at the federal level. And so much is being expended into building roads, railways, housing, power.
Trains where they stop for road, say petrol finish.
Please, let's just focus on this conversation, shall we? Thank you very much. Although successive
Did you hear anything?
That's why I thought it was a radio set, but it was shortwave. So, successive governments have continued to battle with the onerous task of trying to bridge this wide infrastructure chasm that exists in every sector of the country. Remember, the president went recently out of the country and he was talking about something in the region of 10 trillion naira infrastructure gap over X number of years. I don't have the exact figures now. I'm sure our guests will be able to speak to them. So how do we approach this? By the way, do you know that there is such an institution as the Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission?
ICRC.
Well, now you know. But we'll talk to some of these issues with our guests in the studio. Norua Edokpolo is a show commentator. Thanks for coming here.
Thank you very much. Always a pleasure.
As well as Mohammed Mukhtar, who is a development economist, investment banker, market and financial analyst. Thank you for being here.
Good morning. Thank you.
And virtually we have Peter Esele, who is former president of Trade Union Congress. He will join us in due course. Oh, well. Okay, well, good morning, Mr. Esele.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right, good. We'll see your face shortly. But let me begin with Mr. Mukhtar. You're a development economist, and we've been talking about infrastructure development for long. Well, there is soft infrastructure and there is, do you also call that one hard infrastructure?
Well, depends.
Depends, okay. So, which one is, well, we definitely are talking about the, the physical infrastructure, the ones that you can see here. But then there are those who would say it'll depend on soft infrastructure as well, how it'll be run and how it'll subsist over time. Take us through this conversation.
I think the problem we have as a country is that do we really access what type of infrastructure do we really need? First of all, the government always tell us what they think we need, and they go ahead and do what they feel is right for the people, not looking at what the people really need in terms of this infrastructure. Like you talk about the physical infrastructure, is there, like what you're having now, the rail, and what are you talking about, the soft infrastructure that you're just talking about? How do we manage this rail when we have the Chinese all around? We have we seem not to be in control of this infrastructure. We seem to leave that in the hands of those that are bringing the infrastructure.
But isn't that justified, so to speak? Because over the years, I'm sorry, let me ask the question this way. Over the years, I mean, we had this infrastructure. The third mainland bridge, the first mainland bridge, the second mainland bridge, they all got bad right under our noses. And it was us, okay? So how come we couldn't maintain those infrastructure and keep them from getting as bad as they become?
Because when we go into an agreement, we don't even go to build and maintain. That was the problem, and that's still the problem now. You have to go, if you're going for a project, you need to put your KYs. What do you expect? Build and maintain. At what age? And what are the terms and conditions? We go to this project or this contract with the Chinese government. Nobody knows what is there.
Well, it wasn't with the Chinese government.
No, I'm talking generally. If you look at it
but
now.
let's historically, I mean, I like to make those references. There is a way we did things.
That was not the right way. That's why we have to do it well now. But in every way, if you look at the American
did we talk to the Chinese for the Carter Bridge and Eko Bridge, for instance?
But are they really in good shape?
That's the problem. That's the point
That's what I'm saying. That's the point I'm trying to make, is that we went for that agreement. We only build. We say we build. We leave the maintenance side out of it. Look at our infrastructure. Even if you look at the National Stadium in Abuja, until recently that Dangote decided to come and take up the maintenance. But look at the Calabar, stadium in Uyo. You saw that stadium is still the best in the country because it's built and maintained for a certain level of time, and that money has been paid. So you have to come up with the strategy when you know the type of country that you are with. Now look at the infrastructural bill that we're talking about. We're talking decay in infrastructure, and government is thinking all the time to borrow money. But have we looked at infrastructure as an equity? Do we see our infrastructure as an equity to bring in the private sector that, look, this is what I'm dropping on the table, my infrastructure. You build, you maintain for the next 25 years. You collect all your money that you have to collect from there. I don't want to know how much you're going to pay. Remember that once the infrastructure is built, the people that are working there will be paying tax. It's still a win-win situation for the government. But what we have in governance is everybody wants to benefit from every project that is from the government. Not the people.
How do you mean? How do you mean? Everybody wants to benefit from the project?
Not the people that wants to benefit. The people that are awarding the contract want to benefit from the project.
Okay.
So once you want to do that, you don't want to do the private partnership. You want to do the government contractor.
Okay.
That works for them.
Okay. Now, before we come to you, Norua, I need to take you back a bit. When you started, you said government gives the people what it thinks the people need.
Yeah.
Okay. What other way could this be done so that the people are getting what they actually need, not what government thinks they need?
Then government should be able to look at the strength of your people. What are the strengths? If I want to do rail, what the point that these rail lines are going to pass, are there commercial variable places that we have to deal with? Do they have agricultural product that they need to take from point A to point B? Those are why you build infrastructure. You don't just come up to build infrastructure from Katsina to Chad.
Maradi.
I mean, you just say because you want people from Katsina that were related to people from Chad to begin to meet themselves. What are the economic implications of that? What intends? Because government is all about profit. Let's be serious. If you want to build, why Nigeria is where we are now, we've not seen government as an enterprise, whereby we gain profit, then we develop those profits. There's place for social investment. You can't take it away in the area of school, healthcare. That is where government should be. But when it comes to key that have to do with the economy, government should always look at what value are they bringing to the table and what monetary value will come to government in terms of putting it back into the social infrastructure. But what we see here in Nigeria, we don't look at social infrastructure as profit that will come from government. Rather, we look at government profit going into social infrastructure.
Nora, one infrastructure that people hardly talk about, as far as I'm concerned, is water. And with COVID and everything, we spoke about it a lot on this program because the issue of washing your hands came into play. And we said, we asked the question, is there any government that is paying attention to providing water for the people? And we did not come up with an answer. It still was not a priority for many states.
Many years ago, interestingly, we used to live in the same neighborhood as Charlie Boy. You know, so Charlie Boy had Charlie Boy bus stop. We were living somewhere behind there. And I literally watched the public water system dry up. Okay? And I guess maybe that would have been, this was like about 10, 15 years ago now. Bagada phase 2 I can't remember which of them now. Phase 2, yes. I literally watched the public water system dry up. And I doubt if there is anywhere, and I'm waiting to be proven wrong, where you can actually turn on your tap and it's coming from the public water system. Everybody has their own boreholes and what have you, which of course have their own effect on the environment.
Yeah.
You know, so when I hear that we have a minister for water resources, you know, you wonder, what are they doing? You know, we've left some huge gaps. And that's because, you know, you're supposed to do things in a systematic order from the foundation. You do A, then B, then C, then D. But sometimes in Nigeria, it looks as if the decay is so much that when the people who are supposed to fix it look at how bad it is, they just say, you know what, rather than go to the root, let's trim, you know, the branches, all right? So that at least if I trim the branches for 4 years, everybody thinks it's fine, somebody else takes over. That's what's happening with water, all right? We're just trimming the branches because it's almost unthinkable to go back. I mean, think of any estate that is being built now where you can turn on your tap and it's coming from some mains somewhere. So there's a huge deficit in that area. We may not be able to fix the problem, from source. So we may be thinking of, things like maybe just, a local government can run pipes, have a water system for that locality.
I was going to ask you if we don't over centralize some of these things.
That's it. That's the way to go, really, because ideally, if you go back to the developed world, that's how it was. But where we are now, I mean, why has telecoms worked? Because we've been able to jumpstart. Wireless, has given us the ability to leapfrog. You know what I mean? And so an MTN did not need to run a cable everywhere to connect. So we must take that model and take it into different other
Unfortunately,
spheres,
we can't have wireless roads. And then we spoke
about water. So, for example, for power, you have embedded power. All right? So, for example, that's embedded power.
What is embedded power?
Embedded power means, so for example, in this locality where Channels is, somebody comes here, whether by whatever source, whether solar, whether any source, and he gives power to this community.
Yes.
So he's your NEPA for this community.
That's right.
That's embedded power. Okay. All right? So state governments can decide to do same. And already some states are doing it. Lagos State did it many years ago. I think Edo State is doing something in that regard.
But that didn't work for long with Enron.
Because they had issues with federal government and the law, etc.
Exactly.
Et
so I was gonna let me take you up from the angle that Mr. Mukhtar started from the other time. What the people want versus what the people get from government. It will speak to vision. Because if we don't know where we're going, we're just all going to continue to saunter. I mean, that's what, how it would seem. So how do we determine what the people want? Or is it just a copy and paste model?
You've touched a raw nerve. You talked about hard and soft infrastructure, yes? Hard infrastructure is irrelevant if the soft infrastructure is not in place. And soft infrastructure is about systems, about operations, about people, about shared values, all right? So why do you think, for example, a company takes the pain to say, this is our mission statement, this is our vision statement, these are our core values? What are they doing? They are dealing with the soft things that they need to be in place before the hard things, if you like, can then build on it. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, we do not have a sense of belonging. And that's why people just come, do stuff, and take a walk, So until Nigeria answers those very basic, fundamental questions, who are we? Where are we going? How do we want to get there? He mentioned the tracks from Katsina to Maradi, for example. Now, rightly or wrongly, the impression we have is that that's what the president wants. That's what he likes, because he has family members on the other side. Now, it's irrelevant whether that is right or wrong, but that's the notion. In other words,
perception.
That's it. In other words, in Nigeria, it's not what is best for us that matters. It's what I, who have power, or who's holding power now, is what I want that matters. So you take that mindset, and then it cascades all the way down. So as a councillor, am I going to build the road? If it's going to end in my front gate, yes. I don't know if you're getting it. So until we tackle these fundamentals, we keep saying this thing that Nigeria cannot put the cart before the horse or the horse before the cart. It's not going to work. So we must answer those fundamental questions. Our pledge, the Nigerian pledge, our national anthem, these two things in themselves is enough shared values if only the leadership would truly imbibe them.
They are shared written values.
That's
Whether
the
they
point.
Are or not, they are values.
We need to translate them.
Let me my apologies.
Go ahead.
Mr. Sele, you have worked in an industry that has to operate with the infrastructure. So maybe you want to use that, the petroleum sector where you have operated for a little bit, and I hope I'm right, to give us an image of what we are dealing with here. Do you think Nigerians understand significantly or meaningfully the term infrastructure?
Well, good morning and thank you for having me. First of all, let's define in simple language the meaning of the word infrastructure. Infrastructure is a system of public works in a country that deals with the resources such as personnel, building, equipment, required activity, underlining the basic framework of system that you use in running a society. So that first, we now understand the meaning of the word infrastructure. Then somebody made reference to soft infrastructure and hard infrastructure. Soft infrastructure is the key to everything. Now, let me take you back to what is soft infrastructure and why I think we are not ready and we are not serious as a country. Soft infrastructure has to do primarily, your brain box is your educational system. And if your educational system is in a state of comatose, what do you expect to produce? Now, let's take our mind back to see our creativity. We have, you can look at the creativity in terms of looking at the National Arts Theatre. You will see creativity. Now, take your mind back to look at what we've had from 1999 to date. And then you find out that most of those public works, you ask yourself, where is the creativity? Now, ASUU itself, the university system from 1999 to 2020 has been shut for 1,299 days. That is your soft infrastructure. So your soft infrastructure has been killed for 1,299 days. So what do you expect? That's why when Nigerians are talking sometimes, I always look at Nigerians are reacting to symptoms, deal with the causes. So if your educational system is working, you have engineers that will maintain. First of all, you have to maintain what you have to even dream of spending trillions of naira to now bring in fresh one and borrow money. So your soft infrastructure is weak. Because it is weak, you now have to spend huge foreign currency to get Chinese or Americans or Europeans to come and help you maintain. That is another aspect of it. Now, you made reference to, you were correct, all my life in oil and gas. The first time, as a 19-year-old, the first time I was on an oil well, I got a shock. The first shock I got was, as my eyes could go, was all water. So I got there via helicopter. Now, somebody is there to ensure that the helicopter will come at the time it's supposed to come. And when I arrived at the heli deck, I was wondering, where are they getting power from? Now, we had power 24 hours. And we don't even know when the changeover is done. So that was a shock to me because all my life I've been used to NEPA will give you 5 hours and the next thing is gone. This is because they have a process and a system. Now, you are there to work. Your job is to deliver. I work for a company. That company, I'm not asking the company, what am I going to eat? No. The company also provided for me. So your personnel is key. So invest in education. Now, from 1999 to date, we've had Obasanjo, we've had Yaradua, we've had Jonathan, now we've had President Buhari. Yet, ASUU still goes on strike. We've not been able to resolve the problem affecting our university. That is a key soft infrastructure. Engineers are coming in from there. So if your soft infrastructure is bad, please don't even put attention on whether you build the airport, you build rail. It's only a matter of time. They are going to pack up. We've just seen what has happened. I think I saw a video that went viral where somebody was looking for a drum to now put diesel on a train. So it's only a matter of time. All of these we are all going to pay for it. So ordinarily, what I would have expected is we are facing various challenges now. We are going to have the Minister of Education should be saying, oh, whatever problem we have with ASUU, we must put it to bed. If it's 200 billion they need every year for the next 6 years, fine, let's find a way around it. Why am I saying this? Because for every action, there's equal and opposite reaction. But the difference is that the reaction will come, it will not come immediately. We will pay for it maybe 10 years down the road. That is what we are paying for right now. Even look at the vision of our leaders. You also now have to look at the vision. Somebody made reference to, okay, what are our leaders thinking? Where's the vision? The first house I built was because of what I saw on an oil well. And I said, okay, this is where I'm going to model it. But you ask yourself, what is the vision of our leaders? You want to build an airport, and you're asking yourself, okay, what do I need to make this airport work? I'm talking to you now. I've been running generators since yesterday. I'm calling you from my house. I've been running generators since yesterday. It's costing me so much money to do that. But as I'm talking to you, I know that I'm using Wi-Fi, which I paid for, not channels, to talk to you. But I also know that so that I don't go off air, the generator can pack up, then I also have to connect my Wi-Fi to my UPS. That is having people who would think. But that is what we are lacking right now. We don't have people who are able to think that, okay, this can go wrong. Another part of my training was HSC. HSC, everything you do, you ask yourself, where is my emergency exit? When everything fails, where is my emergency exit? That is what, even when I was in the union, when we want to go on strike, I will ask them, where is the emergency exit if all these things fail? Now, we have no emergency exit, national grid failed. We have no emergency exit, we have dirty fuel. We have no emergency exit, we have 107 million barrels that cannot be accounted for. We have no emergency exit. Some group of people are stealing over 100,000 barrels of crude daily. So when you look at all of this, it just tells you that the infrastructure gap depends upon the vision and the thinking of those who are leading. And once you don't have that foundation, forget it. It's only a matter of time the house will collapse. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Mukhtar, from what he said, I was just remembering when in the 70s, most of our roads were built and supervised by Nigerian engineers.
Yes.
But sadly now we find ourselves where all our road contracts are given to foreign companies. Now, do you think that in trying to bridge this infrastructure gap that we're talking about, if our local labor was challenged a bit more, would they not improve on the job such that in the near future they can handle all our engineering jobs instead of giving all the contracts to foreigners all the time?
I think the challenge again is the reward system for an engineer working in Nigeria. Most brain drill, you see...
So it's gone worse?
It's gone worse because at that time you're talking about supervision, you're talking about collecting supervision fee, you're talking about your reward system from the system when you do a role.
They didn't just supervise the jobs.
They make sure the job is done.
Oh, yes.
Now, some government will tell you...
With local labor.
Labor. Some governors will tell you that they've given local contractors most of the abandoned projects that they have all around were the ones they gave to local contractors. Because why? Local contractors with the government, you need to know the governor, or you need to know one politician to take you to the governor. And so a lot of things happen, and the money you embark for that project is less than what the government is going to give to you. You go to a public sector, and public sector, even private sector, you go to talk to them about a project. And after the project, when you talk to them, the next thing that you hear from them, okay, what is there for us? No, they won't say for me.
For us.
For us, so that they know that you are being
the royal we.
You are being carried along.
Yeah.
So that is...
That term, carry along again.
That is... No, that's what they will use. They tell you, oh, we are carrying you along. We don't want to eat alone. So we want you to eat. And that is a problem. Now, look at when you talk about infrastructure. Look at government. There was a time Bill Gates came to this country, and he talked about the soft infrastructure. Remember the economic recovery development plan that was forced by this administration. Now they say they've taken it to the laboratory. We are waiting for it to come out from the laboratory. It has not come back yet. Now, what was that?
No, I think the ERGP evolved into a national development plan.
Thank you. It has evolved into the national development plan. Now they've changed the name. They just changed the name, but it's not still out for us to know what is there. Now, what I'm saying that when Bill Gates came and looked at this document, what did he ask them? He said, where is the place for your own people? And that became a debate. And I remember the governor of Kaduna State, Nasiru El-Rufai, said he can't come here to begin to teach us how to run our economy. We know why is he saying that an economic plan that was prepared by us is of no use? Because Nigeria never looked at its people as its assets. Look at this administration. We are building infrastructures everywhere. Yeah, thank God, they are doing everything infrastructure. But like he said, just take a couple. They have not even gone yet. the rail line, that he doesn't have, he didn't, the excuse they were giving that they did not calculate the amount of diesel that was going to take them from point A to point B. And this is supposed to be a key infrastructure to drive the economy.
Faulty fuel gauge.
Okay, faulty fuel gauge
Yes.
made them not to know. And they had engineers. It's just like, look, look.
It was a human error.
And if the engineers were Nigerians, what would have happened?
Well, we were not. For now, they will tell you that most of the key engineers are Chinese. Most of those that are working with them were Nigerians, because you didn't see any white man trying to. It was the Nigerians they were always showing us.
Okay. Mr. Edokwolo, we're beginning to. What's the word now? We are descending the flight now. I cited the fact that there is such an organization as Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission, headed by Mr. Michael Udiani. But then there is a Nigeria Integrated Infrastructure Master Plan. And the plan is supposed to be funded through PPP. With what we have now, with policies, the way government runs and all of that, how hopeful are you that this kind of plan will see the light of day and will be sustained for decades?
I think to answer, we'll look back and say to ourselves, what has been the history of PPPs in the past? Has it worked? If yes, why did it work? Has it failed? If yes, why did it fail? And then what are these new organizations doing differently to ensure that the evil of the past does not repeat itself? So, for example, we have issues of, government not having the political will to follow through. And usually they don't have that political will because there is lack of trust. Do you realize that if Nigerians got a government that they could trust, we would not mind subsidy being removed? But it's because we know that if they remove the subsidy, they will spend more on themselves and will suffer more. So this whole conversation about subsidy is a trust conversation. That's all. There's nothing more to add to it. So you have that on one side. You have government, lacking the will to follow through. You have the instability in government policies. A new commissioner or minister comes on board and it changes everything.
Sorry. Yeah. Permit me to punctuate you. You said government's inability to follow through.
Yes.
Let's decrypt government at that point.
Okay.
It's someone's job to make sure some things are done.
Well, that someone, particularly in this government, doesn't do it and nothing happens. It's only in Nigeria where you can afford to mess up on your job and get rewarded by the boss. It's only in Nigeria. And so the consequence of that is that, therefore, whoever is coming to dine with the government comes with a very long spoon because you can't trust the government. And because he cannot trust the government, he too is looking for ways and means to circumvent the system. So you have issues of over-invoicing from the private sector. So, it's almost like, you will say, Connie man meet Connie man. That's where we are. So, one can only hope that going forward, these are the real issues. The private people want to, because they're not sure that this first, it's like, okay, maybe the contract is that, you get 10%, then so percent, then, but because the guy knows that after the first 10%, he may not get any other money. So what does he do? He wants to get as much as he can from that first payment, all right? And by so doing, corruption gets introduced into the system. So, so will it work? I think they themselves should be able to ask and answer. And this time around, we're not looking, it's not, it's there, it's history. So the PPPs of the past, did it work? All right? How successful was it? What and what did not allow it to work? Okay? And then are we willing to tackle those problems now? All right? Can we make a policy, at least, so, the new government is coming in 2023, is that not so? So at least we know there's 4 years. So there's a bit of stability over the next 4 years. So if I was a private person, I'm not going to enter into any contract that would go beyond 4 years or even 3 years, because there's no guarantee that the same person will behave the same way by the second term. There's no guarantee that even if he wins, so because of all these uncertainties, when there is no trust, the cost of business goes up.
There's no guarantee that the same person will be on that seat.
Or that he will even behave in the same way. Because first term, he's looking for second term. Second term, he's gotten it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So until we establish some... And you know, when we talk about trust, they think, oh, come on, get out of the way you're talking about. But here we are.
I think the problem with this current one that he is not touching that, you need to look at it that it was supposed to be the physical policies. What you are seeing now is the monetary policy, the CBN, that is coming up with this infrastructure thing. So CBN, as a thing, have diverted from their own initial, what is their own key responsibility, which is monetary. Because they realize that there's a gap. No matter what you do in the monetary side, once the physical side is not doing their own, then the people will not feel it. So they are beginning to go to a where it does not involve them. So this current infrastructural gap, master plan is not being drawn by the physical side. It's drawn by the CBN, trying to say, look, we are going to come with an infrastructural bank that we're going to begin to form infrastructure. So those are not what the CBN should be doing. That's what the government should be doing.
Well, I think we have a consensus on
CBN
something.
is
but
part of government.
Mr. Sele, Mr. Sele,
Yes, I'm here.
clearly it can be a little tasking to stay on one topic because it seems that they're all networked, sort of. So if you would be offering last words for what do we do now in bridging the infrastructure gaps? We know we have the infrastructure. We know we have infrastructure gaps. Perhaps the challenge is, what do we do first? What do we do next? You referenced vision the other time. If you would make recommendations to anyone who cares to listen in order for us to make the kind of progress we need to make, how would it go?
Thank you very much. I think first thing I would like to do is, first I've talked about vision. What do you want for your country? Do you want your country to be like what happens in Europe, so you can copy and you paste? And then the other aspect of it is that we have to look at our laws and regulatory framework. Somebody should be able to say good morning. Government should be able to say good morning, and it's actually morning. Once we make our laws, let us respect our laws. Let me just give you a simple example. We've been battling PIB for God knows when. And finally, PIB became PIGB, it now became a law. And then 4 weeks later, you go ahead and you suspend that law. Investors that were coming in would of course withdraw. So the next thing is that first we have vision. Second, we must be able to walk the talk. Third, we must have respect for our laws. Fourth, we must know the areas where government can invest. If I am a government, for example, my attention will be on education, healthcare, and security. Then there are other areas where you don't have the money, you don't have the resources. You allow the private investors to come in. America is what it is today because people don't remember that 150 years ago, a lot of those roads we see in the US were all PPP. So we can now go ahead and do PPP. But the most important thing, which Dr. alluded to, is trust, the issue of trust. Government must make the people to trust it. That yes, when government says good morning, it's actually good morning and you don't need to look at your clock. Then let me also hold forth where I disagree with Mokhtar when he talked about local contractors and what they do. No, governors or government, whoever, don't give jobs to local contractors because it is easier for any corrupt practices will be easier for EFCC or whoever to trace. It's difficult when you give jobs to foreign contractors for whatever hidden charges that is underneath it to be traced. So that is why foreign contractors are holding sway, not because our local contractors are not good, but they will not have the opportunity to deliver. Thank you.
Well, I think you have spoken to what one can consider, you all have spoken to what you can consider the most critical infrastructure, which is trust. And who is going to build this trust? It's an infrastructure that's been greatly depleted over the years, Mr. Sele. Where do we begin?
Now, where do you begin? Is first of all, we have two major political parties, two major institutions. Because to drive a country, you have institutions. And these institutions are right now, there are 100 parties, but the two major ones from 1999 to date is PDP and the APC. First of all, what is their manifesto? What plans do they have for Nigeria? So what you now do before you elect them, you go to their manifesto and then you hold them to it. If somebody says, I'll give you 24 hours power, Ask the person, how is he going to do it? Where is the money coming from? I'm going to guarantee you security for everyone. How is the money going to come from? Do you know how much a Tucano aircraft costs? Do you know how much night vision will cost for your military? How many thousands of soldiers are you going to employ to achieve that? How many number of policemen will you achieve? Okay, you are talking about education. So what you now need to do is that we know we produce 1.9 million barrels of crude a day. That is what OPEC says we should do, but we are not able to meet that quota. You have an idea of how much comes into government every month and every year. So what you do is that whether a PDP presidential aspirant or an APC presidential aspirant, he must speak to those figures. When you make them speak to those figures, then you know we are starting to build that trust. And if they are not accountable, then you fire them by using your vote. That is how society is built. You don't come and say we are complaining after the fact.
Well, you all have also spoken to the need for vision. Well, Mr. Edokpolo, let me begin with you on this. 30 seconds each person. You have all spoken to the need for us to have a clear vision, and we've been struggling with this for decades. In charting a national vision, what's the first step?
We already have our national anthem. Go and look at the words of the national anthem. Our pledge. Even if you don't know any other thing and you just come and say, I will abide, I will follow through, I will be true to this, that's a good place to start.
Okay. Well, Mr. Mukhtar, you are a development economist. We have had economic plans and economic activities over the years. The one that I remember serving us well is agriculture. If we're going to set a national vision, going by what Mr. Edokpolo says, in what direction would you recommend? When you hear Germany, you know the kind of industry. When you hear Russia, you hear Japan, you hear India, you know the kind of industry. Even Ghana. Oh, Jesus. Okay, so what would be the economic vision or focus that you, as a development economist, would recommend for Nigeria?
No, but you see, when you talk about vision, a vision can only work when three things are stable. What are those three things? You have three things for government: food, housing, and shelter. I mean clothing.
You started with food.
You start with food. That's why don't you ask yourself why the politician came up with stomach infrastructure?
Okay.
Because it's only way.
So you're talking about agriculture.
Agriculture.
Okay.
Once you have food, housing, and other things, then that's when vision.
It's like you really want to go to the Stone Age.
That's when you will have the vision.
That's when you have the vision.
Clear vision.
You know you can.
On an empty
Mr.
stomach,
Sele,
you can't.
The vision doesn't work on an
Mr.
empty
Sele,
That's Maslow.
there are those who believe that your industry is the reason we became lazy. So if you would recommend a direction, economic direction or vision for the nation, what would be your take?
Education, education, education. With education, you can put food on your table. With education, you can provide shelter. With education, you can design infrastructure. With education, you can maintain infrastructure. Education is key.
Okay. I think we have a resolution. All in favor say aye.
Bam.
Aye. The ayes have it. Peter Esele, former president of Trade Union Congress, Norway Edokpolo, social commentator, and Mohammed Mukhtar, development economist, investment banker, market and financial analyst. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being a part of this discussion this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Sunrise continues after now with one of those things. Was it? I think it has something to do with what Mr. Esele talked about. Education, education, education. We're back after now.